Hi everyone, Namaste Sauzalai. Welcome to today's session on taking notes. In today's session, we'll be sharing with you effective strategies and practical strategies to get yourself started with taking notes. So without further ado, let's jump right into the session. Let me walk you through what's inside this. First of all is question of the participants, and I'll walk you through what is the history of note taking and what we can learn from our ancestors. And I'll also share my own realization and how it has helped me and how it helps me now, what my entire process of taking notes look like, and how you can get your head start on taking notes. I'll end up this session with few trivias and feedbacks and Q&A. So, have you taken notes? What is note taking for you? Have you ever taken note? And if so, when did you start taking notes actively? And how frequently do you take notes? Do you carry your notebook everywhere you go? And have you tried your hands on journaling? If you have done any of these things above, then you're already started on your note-taking journey. All you have to do is get more structured and more thoughtful about the process. So a little request, during all this session, I would request you to take note of things, any interesting facts, any interesting words, any interesting anecdotes, stories that I'm gonna share with you guys, so that will get you started in your note-taking journey. So let's start. Let's start with a little backstory, a little bit of history about humankind. Human beings have existed in this world for thousands upon thousands of years. But it was only 10,000 years ago that people started doing agriculture. Meaning they left their hunting and gathering thing and they went on to cultivate crops like wheat, barley, rice, potatoes. And it was only in 4000 BC that writing system was invented. And it was very recently that ballpoint pen was invented, and modern computers that you and I use were invented only in the late 1970s. So the question arises naturally. Human beings have existed for millions of years, but only 4000 years ago the need for writing system was felt. Do you know why the need for writing system was felt? Or how did writing evolve? I don't think it will be surprising when I say that memory limitation led to invention of writing. Because for the longest time, human beings didn't have to deal with a lot of information. All they had to know was to know where food was found and which roads to not travel that wild animals would attack them. And those information were also on a visual form. And that impacts us even today because we remember visuals more than text, right? So for the longest time, we didn't have to remember a lot of information. And those information were in pictorial format because we didn't have enough information to deal with. But then soon enough, with the invention of agriculture, we started doing trade, we started living in settlements, governments started to form, kings started to rule people, they used to collect taxes. And it won't be wrong when I say this, that all these things, transactions, started adding more and more information more than ever before in human history. So, in order to deal with this, people invented numbers. Yeah, that's right. Even in writing, before letters were invented, first there were numbers like 0, 1, 2, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These were numbers because it was used for accounting. And only then the letters, the words and sentences started to continue. So it just goes to demonstrate that writing was evolved because because we were getting a lot of information and our brain was simply inefficient in storing the information, and retrieving the information out of your brain was simply an inefficient process. So they started writing their accounting records in different forms. They started with stones, then brass coppers. Later, they invented pen and paper, and today the vast majority of the writing, it happens in the electronic medium, the ones and the zeros. So what this goes on to show is that human brain is highly inefficient. Well, it has its own function and it can do a lot of things, but when it comes to remembering things, it is highly inefficient. So basically the memory has two part. One is the temporary memory, another is the permanent memory. Anything that I say right now, it is stored in your temporary memory, which is also known as the working memory, and then it goes back to your permanent memory over the period of time. If your brain feels, okay, this information is relevant, I need to remember this information, it stores into the permanent memory. So this is just like how computers work. If you have heard about RAM and hard disk or SSD in modern computers, you'll know that RAM stores the data temporarily, whereas hard disk or SSD, solid state disk, records the information for the long term. If you switch off the computer, the RAM, everything gets lost, but in case of hard disks, it's not the case. And there is this not so famous quote which goes on like this. It says, faintest ink is stronger than the strongest memory. It goes to show that our memory is really fragile. So our ancestors, what they did was they understood, because we were facing a lot of information challenges, so they invented writing, because as we all know, in necessity is the mother of all invention. So it is very important for us to answer, why did our forefathers write things down? I mean, why did they do it? Because we have been in this earth for millions upon millions of years. Only 4,000 years ago, they felt the need to write things down. So there might be some significant issues, right? So here are some reasons. The first one, as I mentioned, was accounting records, because we started doing trade and commerce and taxation. Accounting became a major part of what we do. So recording was not an option. Not recording was not an option actually. And we also needed to pass knowledge to future generations. Before this, also knowledge was passed, but more was verbal, and what parents or seniors used to teach to the youngest about what are the do's and don'ts of their surroundings. Next was recording of laws, customs, and traditions, because when recorded, it became permanent. It was easy to pass on to the future generation. Also, they used to record important events and incidents. They also preserved knowledge, because everything they recorded and they built on top of it. For example, if everybody had to start from scratch on how to invent fire, we would be nowhere, right? So writing helped them on that. And also later on, they started communicating to distant places, and writing was a great tool for communication. So we can take hints from our ancestors, and we can also write things down for the following reasons. Accounting records, we can use personal finance entries so that we do not forget them. We can pass down knowledge to future self. We can record actionable items. We can record important events and incidents. We can also preserve our knowledge so that it comes handy in the future. And it goes without saying, we communicate using Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp in today's day and age, so it's not a question. But we live in an era which is a little different from our forefathers. They had information coming from all different directions, but in today's day and age, where we are in internet and we have more books than ever, more books and resources that we can ever read, we are inundated with information. We have information coming from all shapes and sizes, from all corners, from the time you wake up to the time you go to the bed. You see a lot of things. So it goes into showing that, okay, you are inundated with information. And today we all are knowledge worker. I mean, every single one of us is a knowledge worker who is handling a lot of information. Our work involves dealing with information. So that's a background about how our ancestors felt the need of writing things down, and they invented writing tool, and they use for all different purposes, and how we can take hints and how we can take suggestions from them and implement in our own life. So I didn't know all of these things beforehand when I started with my note taking journey. I was forced into taking notes, right? I had to do this mandatory internship, and in that you have to go and visit a lot of different clients, and all of these clients gave me this single set of diary which was sitting in my bookshelf and collecting dust. Didn't do anything about it. But later, when my seniors and people who were and clients also, they suggested me to carry a notebook wherever they would go. It started becoming a part of me. Right? I used to take it for client meetings or any client meetings with the team. Also, whenever I attended classes or webinars, yeah. And the big realization was of because of reading books or listening to people, books like Atomic Habits, books like Ebook of Talent, Compound Effect, so many have actually impacted. And I also stumbled upon this article by Richard Branson, where he explained about his horror stories about how he was in a boardroom meeting and he was the only one taking copious notes. He completed so many pages, but other people were not taking notes. And he wrote an article about it, and it just goes on to show that it can be of great benefit even to people who are who have achieved everything material or what a normal average human being would like to achieve. So that is there. So that these were the parts of realization. Now I take it everywhere I go. Yes, even to shower. I mean, most compulsive note takers take this notebook, waterproof notebook to the shower. So I don't have that, but I have a mobile phone with me, so that's all fine. So I use it for these broad categories for which I take notes. Okay, number one is thinking outside your brain, because as we all know, our brain is inefficient, and organizing things inside your brain is absolutely difficult. So writing things down, your thoughts, and thinking outside the brain is actually a good way to do it. Next thing is memory aid. As with our ancestors, we're facing a lot of issues when it comes to memory, and we do not remember things. So yeah, taking notes really helps. Organizing, I mean, organizing your priorities, making a to-do list, and all of that is a part of it. Recording your personal history, like our ancestors did with their own history. We can record our own thoughts, so that 10 years down the line you can say, okay, this was who I was back in the day. So let's walk through the process. The process looks like I carry a physical diary everywhere I go, and there's this date-wise thing that I do, and every single dash is a bullet point, and relevant note is scribbled down in a notebook. And when I don't have my notebook with me, I have these different sites that I use. The first one is Workflowy, which I always pin. If you see, there's the corner at the corner, it's pinned, so it's always open. So whenever I have to, I'm working or doing something, I just go there and start jotting things down. Next is the Google Keep, which I have in my mobile phone home screen, so it is easy to access. And also I have sticky notes in the Windows, which is the default. And so when all the notes from all different sources are gathered into this place where I consolidate for future reference. So this is Workflowy, where I have categorized into different things. So if you see inbox is for recording information where it comes to me and I do not know how to categorize it. And next actions includes things that I need to do next. Project is the thing that I'm working on right now. The someday maybe list, which may come handy in the future. The sour thoughts, where I record my thoughts. Journaling, most of the journaling happens here. The analogy part is where I record my examples and all of that. Questioning mind, I have questions that I need to ask to my seniors, juniors, to other people. And so I categorized into so many different bundles. It might look daunting, but it is quite easy. So yeah, I use a mix of all different tools and apps, and there is age old debate about which one to choose, right? There is a age old debate about whether to choose analog note taking or digital note taking. So here's my little take on it. The analog has a lot of deficiencies, which is negated by the use of digital note taking notes, and I mean, you cannot search your analog notes, neither it is universal, and you cannot access from anywhere. There's a chances of you losing your information with a diary. You cannot share with anybody. All these things can be defeated by using digital notes. You can access it from anywhere. You can edit, delete a movie note. It can be shared with others. Your ability to search. But one thing is there: you cannot take your phone or your laptop everywhere you go. And then maybe you are in a professional setting. You cannot just open your phone and start typing your note. Even if it is important, the other person will think that you're chatting with a friend. So that doesn't look professional. So the good thing is you can carry your analog notebook everywhere you go, and then you can process in a digital notebook. So yeah, that way you can have the best of both worlds. So that was a brief about how people, our ancestors, felt the need for it and how you can use for it own benefit. So the next thing is, how can you get started? I mean, all of us take notes, right? If you are able to read and write, you take notes in some form or the other. We are already doing it. So first of all, you need to focus on quantity, then quality. You just have to note everything down rather than thinking which is the relevant thing and then I need to note down. You just note it down and later think about the quality. Make it frictionless. Like the example I gave, you can add widgets in your home screen which you can easily access. You can always tab the first page, or you can pin the web page so that it's easier to access. Next thing is, you can keep a physical diary with you every single time so that there is less friction. You need to give time for it to show results, and you can teach others what you've learned. Okay, so what kind of information that you can record? In my opinion, there are two types of information on broad sense: the external information and the internal information. External information might include anything and everything that is coming from the outside world. Okay, it might include links to your favorite article. It can include learning from your project or feedbacks from your seniors. It can include new words, phrases, or even inspiring quotes. And the internal thing, it includes your ideas, your goals, milestones, your personal thoughts, memories of your life, a lot of things. Anything that comes from inside of your brain, it's useful. So what tools you can use? You can use the default apps that come from your on your phone, or you can use free tool by Google Keep. It's actually very good for beginners. You can use other tools that are available in the market. I use Notion and Workflow, a combination of those. Workflow is really good tool. It's lightweight. It's tons of features for free. And Notion is a little complex, but it is used for more collaboration and doing complex tasks. So the one thing that I really like about Workflow is that it gives you a daily summary in your email, and you can go through it and see what have you learned on the previous day. So that was about the tool that I use. I hope you guys understood about the entire process flow, why the need for note taking was felt, and what kind of information that you can record into your own system, and how you can use it to make your life better remember your life, better organize your life, and do bunch of things that you like to do stress free. So that was it. Let me share some few trivias with you guys. Yes, the most expensive notebooks, you might have heard about Leonardo da Vinci. Bill Gates actually bought his original notebooks for $30 million, and he has this scanned and showcased in his personal library. So Leonardo da Vinci used to note everything down, from his inventions, observations about human nature, his plannings, everything. So he was the most detailed note takers of his time. So the next one, you might think it won't make any sense about why it is important, but the worldwide market says otherwise. Okay, so the market stands at around $547 million. That's a huge sum of money. So there are huge, a lot of apps, a lot of note-taking tools, diaries, pen sets, and stationery. A lot of people use it. So, yeah, I'm not alone. Next thing is, let's talk about a diary that changed the world. You might have heard about this. 1945, the World War ended, and 2 years later, a diary was found of a relatively young girl, and it was so revealing and shocking about the atrocities that the Jews faced because of Nazis. They were sent to concentration camps and all these things that were happening. A young girl, she documented all that thing in her diary. She was also a victim of that thing. She has to live in a hidden setting where the Nazis couldn't see them. So she wrote all her observation, and later when she expired, her dad found this diary notebook and decided to convert it into a book. It became a worldwide phenomenon and educated people about the atrocities that Jews faced. So yeah, the book was the idea for a young girl, and the author was Anne Frank. The girl was Anne Frank, and it was such an interesting or monumental event because of a diary. So in a nutshell, we cannot rely on our memory. So we invented writing to store information outside of our brain. We cannot write information from outside and thoughts from inside. What you write don't matter. However, writing in electronic mode is preferable. Again, which apps you use do not matter. We already write in some form or the other. We just need to be more thoughtful and make it more functional. There are numerous people in our history and now around the world. This concept might sound alien to you because no one in your surrounding is doing it. Research and you'll find it. You can add queries and feedback. So yeah, that's about it. You should start taking notes. It will be beneficial to you. Thank you. Have a good day, good night. Adios. This is Pavel signing for now.